Chapter 1. The attainment of a majority becomes an excuse for truancy. The road came sharply up the steep curve of the hills, pushing its way through the thinning larch and spruce woods as though in a hurry to leave behind it the shadows and dust of the valley, and swerving aside only for the great spurs of rock shoulder that sprawled across its path and frowned at its impulsive eagerness. When the road reached the crest of the long rolling ridge of hills, it moved for a while, contented with its victory, across the wind-ruled plateau, and then, tiring of the heights, dipped to the farther valleys to seek the cool water splashes, the wide beech tree shadows, and the noise of bees and hens about the cottage gardens, which a few miles back it had pretended to despise. It was no Roman road, moving resolutely along the ridge of the hills, and joying in the intoxication of heights and the splendour of long vistas. It was a creation born of the cities that had lost itself in the country, and passed with careless cruelty across field and wood, scarring the side of grass slopes, and disfiguring the bold beauty of the hilltops with its stiffly bending lines. It was an ugly road, its white length laid like stamp edging across a quiet-toned stained-glass window. No sooner did it find one joy than it tossed it aside in its eagerness for another. It willingly deserted valley for hill, and hill for plain, and plain for city, always pressing eagerly forward. But not everything shared the white road's desire to leave the wide hilltop. The wind-blown hawthorns remained to live their deformed lives, crouching in the meagre shelter of the low stone walls. The rabbits that honeycombed the long tumuli, and in their delvings unearthed shaped flints and broken pottery, had never known any life but the life of the hilltop. The green plovers, manoeuvring in the breeze about the cropping sheep, the whistling curlews that passed in dark flight against the fragile sky, and the golden stonecrop which clung to the grey walls in thick bosses of rich velvet, all these were part of the true life of the uplands, the life which the white road no more than hastily touched. Not everything hurried away from the wide hills so quickly as the road. A young man had been sitting for half an hour on the low wall which bordered the road. Behind him was a clump of Scotch firs that held their crimson trunks to the westering sun. The careless splotches of sunlight slipped through the barricade of trunks and fell upon the young man, bringing a transient brightness to his fair hair and striking little spurts of light from the growth on his upper lip, which at times he fingered gently, as though to reassure himself that it still existed. He was a slender, wiry young man, and as he sat on the wall he swung one foot to and fro, kicking at the uncurling bracken fronds, and whistling softly through his teeth. One hand was in the pocket of his sports jacket, and the other was engaged in tossing little pieces of stone into the upturned crown of a shabby, comfortable-looking Trilby hat, which lay on the wall by his side. 1 out of every 4 stones went into the hat, for he was not looking where he threw them, but gazing out across the distant sweep of hills. Before him the road dipped slowly in a long descent to a low valley where a trout stream twisted between outcrops of limestone. Sitting where he was, he had a view of 10 miles of country which had once played a part in the development of Britain's commerce as valuable as any Welsh mine or Black Country pottery. At one time these hills had been rich with long-fleeced sheep, whose wool had made the fortunes of hundreds of mercers and formed the principal industry of Britain up to the time of the Industrial Revolution. But the Cotswold woolen trade has long been dead. Fortune travelled north to blacken the clouds with her smuts and paint the night sky with searing flames, and now the mercers lie beneath their long tombs in the valley churches, content to let the verdigreed brasses that hang in the shadows of the church naves tell, in archaic lettering, the story of their past. The hills have gone back to wasteful nature. The forgotten pack roads that once sounded to the tramp of horses burdened with double panniers of staple now make runways for the rabbits and hunting weasels.